In this live video, I'm going to share with you what I believe to be the darkest psychological manipulation tactic that narcissists use. And I've just been doing some research on this today. And it's really one of the sickest things that I've heard. It's really one of the worst things that narcissists do. And I already know that all of you have already experienced this, because no matter what part of the world you're from, all of these narcissists are pretty much the same. They all behave the same way. So guaranteed, you've all experienced this. And yeah, the darkest psychological manipulation tactic that narcissists use is coupling, also known as pair association. And you can do your own research on this as well. This is a psychological term. The psychological term is coupling. And pretty much what it is they pair two things together that do not belong together. They get you to associate in your mind unrelated things. And you may be thinking, what is the purpose of that? Why do they want you to pair unrelated things? Why do they want you to associate them together? And they do because it favors them. It benefits them by them getting you to make these paired associations in your mind. And I will give you some examples. The narcissist acted very kind, friendly, charismatic, pleasant, attractive, everything you could have wanted them to be. They became whatever they thought you wanted to see in the beginning. When really underneath that, behind that mask, they're very mean, hateful, spiteful, nasty, manipulative. That's who they really are. But they got you to make this paired association known as coupling, where they got you to see them as something else, something that really is unrelated to them. It's got nothing to do with them at all. It's just because they know it's what you want. And they know that you don't really want them. So they make themselves appear as something else to try and sell themselves to you, almost like they're a product. Because they want you to buy it. They want you to give them your attention, admiration, validation. Maybe your money and resources as well. Narcissistic supply. They want all of these things from you. The problem is that them being the person that they are, they know they're not going to get that from you. Of course, not unless they pretend to be something else. And this is why they use coupling or paired association. And it doesn't always have to be just their qualities. It could be them pretending to enjoy a certain activity when really they don't even care about it. They might pretend to enjoy hiking. And you may just first start talking to them. You may have met them somewhere and they're wearing hiking boots. Or maybe you see in a picture on their dating profile, they're hiking in the woods somewhere. And then you meet them, you get to know them, and you discover they're not even interested in hiking at all. And yet they got you to associate that with them. And then whenever you think about hiking, or whenever you go hiking in the woods, it's making you think of them. You're associating that with them. And you feel like you've lost something, you're missing something with them, as though that's a part of who they are. And also many narcissists do this with sex. Initially, they act very sexy and seductive. They dress a certain way for you. They seem so passionate about it, about being intimate. And then a certain amount of time goes by and they can't even be bothered to do it anymore. You discover that they're very lazy, or they just have no interest in making love or affection. But they already got you to associate the act of sex with them, to see them as sexy or seductive, when it's not even something that they even care about. And it leaves you feeling like you've lost something, you're missing something. And it's not just that you see who they really are, and then you just wake up to it and you could just forget about it and move on. It's not that simple. It's very difficult to move on past this. There was an experiment that was done called Pavlov's dogs. So they did this experiment on the dogs, and they found that whenever they rang the bell, the dogs came running for food. And they even foamed at the mouth. Because it has a psychological effect, not only on animals, but on humans as well. So the narcissist gives you this certain stimuli, and they get you to associate that with them, so that you feel tempted, you feel enticed, you feel drawn to them for that, for something that they can't even give to you anyway, because it's got nothing to do with them. And yet they use it and manage to get you to be drawn to them. When the reality is that despite what they present themselves as, and it could be anything, there's narcissists out there who present themselves as experts, professionals in a certain field, as though they know everything, as though they're very intelligent, as though they're a doctor and they can give medical advice, or they know so much about a certain subject that you're interested in, when in reality they know nothing about it. They have no knowledge of it at all. They have no experience. And yet they get you hooked on them for that, for information or advice that they can't even give you. Because many of these narcissists are very unintelligent. They're not even smart at all. And especially when you're going to them to get this from them, something that they don't have, it then depletes you or misinforms you in some way. It just takes from you. It makes you less than who you are, less than before you trying to get that advice from them. So there's many different forms of coupling or paired association. But what it does is it gets you to want or desire something from them. Something that they made you believe that they had initially, or that they presented to you in an illusion, a fantasy, that they got you to believe in and validate. And that was so that you would invest that energy into them. You would invest that same quality that they presented to you, you would give that to them. Because that's what they're missing. So they present this facade to you, they get you to invest into them. And then gradually over time, they begin to reveal their true nature, who they really are. And then you're completely starved. You're constantly giving this quality, this energy to them, and you're getting nothing back in return because they haven't got it. They deceived you. So gradually you're being depleted. You're emotionally starved, or you're starved of a certain passion or interest, whether it's hiking or whatever activity you like to do. And then that's how it becomes like Pavlov's dogs, where they ring the bell. They just use a certain stimuli. It could be anything. It could be anything that they use. It could be a certain word that they use. It could be a certain sound. It could be the sound of car keys, and then it makes you think that you're going to go out somewhere together because they never want to go anywhere. And then it just ignites this desire within you and creates this expectation in you of something from them that they are unable to give to you anyway. But what it does for them is it gives them that narcissistic supply. It gives them attention, validation, admiration. And that's all that they want from you. They just want to be seen as someone desirable. They want to be seen as someone who can give something that you want to you. And that's all that they care about. That's all that it's for. That's the only reason why they use coupling or paired association. There is no other reason for it. And get many of you, it leaves you holding on because then you see the stimuli again. You hear a certain sound or they say certain words. And then you start desiring it again, thinking that they can bring it to you. And it just brings you on this endless cycle with no end in sight, because it's like you just don't want to accept that after everything you've invested into this person, all of this time and energy you've wasted with them, you don't want to accept that actually, no, they haven't got it at all. And many of you, you may still be in disbelief. You may be thinking, but they displayed something at the beginning. It seemed like they really cared about it. They were really interested in it. Well, that's just it, because think about it like this, right? If someone's displaying something to you that they're genuinely interested in, they're genuinely passionate about, like such as going hiking, going swimming, doing something fun together, you're not going to be longing and yearning for that from someone. If it's something that they're passionate about, it's not going to be something you have to beg for, because they like doing it too. It's a part of who they are. It's a part of their identity. It's not just something they're pretending to be. It's something that they like. So you don't have to wait around for that. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to do anything to get it, to earn it, because it's something they like doing. It's something that they enjoy as well, just as with you. They didn't have to beg you to do certain things, because you just like doing it. It's something you're genuinely interested in. It's something you want to do. It's not just something you're using to get attention or admiration from someone. And that's how you know that it's not real. The more time that goes by, it should only reveal to you how fake they are, and how everything that they display to you is all a lie. Because I can tell you, if someone really enjoys a certain activity, or if they're just naturally kind, pleasant people, every minute that goes by of being in conflict or being silent with you, being away from you, it's going to be very painful. It's not going to be an enjoyable experience for them. So they're going to be the ones coming to you. They're going to be the ones telling you that we need to break the silence. We need to start talking again. We need to go out. We need to do this. We need to be friends again. Because that's naturally their character. It's naturally who they are. But that doesn't happen with narcissists. And it doesn't happen because that's not naturally who they are. They're very miserable, hateful, envious, spiteful, unforgiving people. And they enjoy their own misery. They enjoy disagreements, arguments, conflict, drama, chaos. That's their idea of fun. Let me tell you, their idea of fun is making you believe that they're someone, they're a certain way, they're similar to you, they're the same as you, they like the same things. And then once they've gotten you to believe in it and to trust them, for them to then pull away and leave you longing and yearning for them, chasing after them, desiring them. That's their idea of fun. That's the kind of activity that they like, not actually doing anything. Because this goes back to their childhoods. It was all about the performance for their narcissistic parents. So they had to perform a certain way to get the validation. They had to do things that they didn't even care about because they had no personality. They had no passions. But they just went along with it. They played a certain sport, or they dressed a certain way just to please their parents for the false image, so that they could get the validation, so that they could feel good about themselves. But that's all that they're passionate about, is using people and things to feel good about themselves. That's all that they care about. They don't care about the activity itself. They don't enjoy the process. They're only thinking about the end goal. They're thinking about, what does this get me? Does this get me the attention, the validation, the things they never got in their childhood? Does it fulfill their emotional and psychological needs? They're not thinking about the connection. They're not thinking about the activity. They're not immersed or involved in it. And this goes with anything with narcissists. It doesn't matter what it is. Like such as if a narcissist is eating a meal, they're not eating that meal and savoring the taste of it. They're not really enjoying the food. They just wolf it down like a dog. Because it's just to fulfill a need. It's just to relieve their hunger. The same thing with sex. They don't really enjoy the activity. It's not about the pleasure or the gratification. It's not about connecting with someone. It's just about, is it going to make them feel better? Is it going to feed their ego? Is it going to get them the validation that they want? And that's why if they can, they're just going to skip that part. They're going to skip going hiking in the woods with you. They're going to skip having sex. It's too much effort, too much energy. They're too lazy. They have no interest in it. They'll just skip that, and instead they'll just withhold it from you. They'll make you believe that they're still interested in that, they're still about that, but something is wrong with you. So then that way they still get the validation, the attention. It still feeds their ego without them having to put in any effort. And that's their ideal scenario, because they don't really care about it. If they did care about it, you wouldn't be longing and yearning for that from them. You wouldn't be chasing after them to do a certain activity, or to be intimate with them, or to get them to be nice and kind to you. You wouldn't have to do that. They would be coming to you. You wouldn't have to chase after them. It would be very easy. So you see, this is why they use coupling. This is why they use paired associations for things that they're actually not even interested in. They're not even passionate about. It doesn't even mean anything to them. They don't really care about anything. They just take things from other people. They follow trends. They'll dress a certain way if they think it's going to get them attention and validation. They'll act like they're interested in something if they think that it's trending, if they think that it's popular, if they think that it's going to make people like them, if it's going to feed their ego, if it's going to make them look good, if it's going to support their false image. Not because they enjoy those things, not because they care about it. They don't care about anything. All they care about is their false image. Everything else is just a means to an end. It's a tool to get them the narcissistic supply. Now that's how you may notice when they're with you and then they go off with other people with a new source. They become a very different person. They like completely different things, completely different activities. They will eat completely different foods. They'll go to completely different countries. They become a different person entirely. Because that's just it. It's not about the activity or the passion. They're not passionate about anything. It's all just to fulfill an emotional or psychological need that was unfulfilled in childhood. It's all just to get the validation, the narcissistic supply. And that's just it. That's all that it is. And remember, they feel no guilt or remorse. They don't feel anything. They do these things to try and feel something. That's why they use coupling or paired association, so that they can try and feel like they are something. It gives them meaning, purpose. It gives them some sense of identity or belonging, even if it isn't real. So that's why they do these things, and it leaves you holding on, thinking, where did this person go who is very similar to me and like the same things as me? I can tell you that doesn't happen. If someone is similar to you, if they like similar things to you, they're not going to go anywhere. They're still going to be there for you. You're still going to do those things together because it's what they like. It's what they're passionate about. It's what means something to them. It doesn't happen with narcissists because they're not really interested in or passionate about anything. All they care about is narcissistic supply. And they will maintain that false image with you to gain a sense of power and control, because they don't want to lose you. They don't want to lose that supply. So the last thing they want you to think, is that they're not actually similar to you, or that they don't actually like the things that you like, and that it was actually all fake. Because as soon as you catch on to that, as soon as you start to think, hold on, this person isn't similar to me, this person doesn't like the same things that I like, it breaks the spell. It takes their power away. They lose control of you. And that's why that's so important to them. Because instantly they feel their power slipping away. And that's why, what do? They go off with a new source. And then they display this back to you, making it seem as though they were interested in those things all along. It's just that there was something wrong with you. And now they're able to do that with a new source. It's all to give them power over you, over your emotions, to keep you emotionally invested in them so they can keep getting supply. That's all that is for. But no, the reality is that they're not passionate about it. They're not interested in it. If they were, they would have cracked a long time ago. They wouldn't have been able to keep it going where they were devaluing you, withholding things from you, starving you emotionally. They wouldn't have been able to have kept that going. They would have broken down. And especially with a narcissist, I mean, when they want something, they want it now. And they will feel entitled to it from you. If they want it, if they're interested in it. But that's just it. They weren't really interested in it all along. It was a tool to manipulate you, to get you emotionally invested in them, to desire and expect from them, to be dependent on them for something, so that you then keep providing them with their supply. And it's really dark, it's really twisted how they do this, because, I mean, it's kind of like if you have a pet. Of course, you know, a pet needs food, it needs water. And let's say if, because I've noticed this in my cat, in Nala, when she hears me rustle a bag or something with her treats, or if she hears me opening a tin, that creates a paired association in a cat. They recognize the rustling of the bag, or the sound of a tin opening. And then you may notice, if you look at your pet, they'll start licking their lips. They're expecting they're going to have something to eat, because, you know, this stimulus is being presented to them. Imagine someone rustling the bag of the treats, opening a tin of tuna, but they don't feed it to the pet. And instead what they do is they just, they take the food with them. They just shut the door and they leave the pet at home all day without anything. Just there on its own, just licking its lip. Or even with a baby, with a human baby. They will also make pet associations as well. And it could be all sorts of things. I can't really think too much with a baby off the top of my head. But, you know, there'll be things with sounds, and it's kind of like, you know, knowing that when the baby hears a certain sound, or if the baby's crying and expected to be fed, and you just leave the baby there crying. You don't feed it, you don't give it milk. You just leave it to starve. And it can be even more damaging sometimes if, and confusing as well, because then other times, if we go back to the cat hears the rustling of the treats or the sound of a tin opening, and then other times you do give them the food, you do give them the treats, or you do give the baby milk, and then they're very confused and they can't figure out who they're actually dealing with, and then sometimes they're just left there to starve. This is what narcissists are like. And I dread to think, you know, the narcissists who do have children, who have babies or pets, I wouldn't be surprised if they're playing these same games with their pets or children. And I bet you they get off on it. They get off on rustling the bag of treats, or opening a tin of tuna. And then their cat is just sitting there, licking its lips, expecting something. Expected to be fed because maybe it's very hungry. And then the narcissist just leaves it and walks out the door. I bet there's narcissists out there who are doing these things. And it's really bad, it's really sick. How someone could do that. I mean, especially those of us who are empaths, because what we're like is, you know, if we can see the cat is hungry, the cat is licking its lips, we're like running to them. We want to feed them. We want them to be satisfied and to not have the feelings of hunger. But with narcissists, to them it's a game. They see it as a source of power. It feeds their ego, it makes them feel needed, desired. And that's why they love to play these games with you. But they're making you believe that they can be someone for you, that they're similar to you, that they like similar things. And then they just withhold that from you. They take it away. They leave you to starve. And not only do they leave you to starve, but then they come back and they give you more stimuli. They create all of these paired associations to leave you longing and yearning for something that they're never going to give to you and that they can't give to you. Something that they don't even have. It's just really sick. It's really sadistic how people can do this. And to me, the people who do this, they're not even people. They're not human. Humans do not do these types of things. It's really messed up. And honestly, I can't imagine how anyone could do that. I mean, for me, it would be playing on my mind. Even if I got in an argument with someone, as the clock is ticking by, it would be constantly on my mind. the guilt would be eaten away at me. And also just the empathy for the other person, thinking about what they must be going through. I couldn't just leave them in that condition. But narcissists can do that because they lack empathy. They feel no guilt or remorse. They don't feel anything, really. They don't feel anything for anyone. That's why there's no connection there. They can't connect to people. And that's how they're able to do this. And because they don't connect, they don't feel anything, they're just constantly looking for ways to feel something, to feel alive. And they can only get that by playing these games with people, by toying with them. Yeah, it's really sad, it's really messed up. But this is what they're doing out here. And that's why I really wanted to make this video for you today, to just end your suffering. Those of you who may be going through this, where you're left longing and yearning for something from the narcissist. They made you believe that they like going hiking, they like going swimming, they like being intimate. And maybe it's been months, years even. You can't remember the last time you went hiking or swimming with them. You can't remember the last time that you had sex together. And yet constantly you're seeing these things from them. They're giving you these stimulus. And it just leaves you holding on while you're being starved of it. So I just want to end your suffering right now by telling you that it isn't real. It's coupling. These are paired associations. They're displaying something to you that they're not really about, that they're not really interested in, and that doesn't really matter to them. Because I can tell you, if it mattered to them, if they were passionate about it, if it was something they really cared about, if they were similar to you, you're not going to be waiting months or years for something to happen. You're not going to be waiting even a few days. Especially if you're dealing with someone who has empathy, because even if they're tired, if they're sick, if they're going through something, they're going to have empathy and compassion for you, and they're still going to make an effort and try and do something with you, even if they're not feeling it at the time. You don't have to wait around. You don't have to starve. If you're with someone who loves and cares about you, rather than just a leech, a parasite, who's using you for supply. And that's what you've got to know. 97 live viewers, give it a thumbs up. I want everyone to hear about this. Because I know there's so many people out there suffering who are going through this. And I've been through it myself. It's a horrible experience. Because they've left this impression in your mind about them, where you perceive them in a certain way. You expect them to be a certain way with you. And yet all the time you're just left being starved of that experience with them. And then you're seeing them with other people, and it appears that they are that way with them, because they can pretend for a certain amount of time. But in order for them to do that, they have to be getting envy or jealousy from someone, or some form of supply where they feel like someone else is missing out, because that's what then fuels them to continue with it. But yeah, definitely do some research on coupling, and research about the experiment Pavlov's dogs. This is real. This is real psychological manipulation. This is what narcissists do. It's what they have to do to get supply, because if they were to present themselves without the mask, you wouldn't want anything to do with them. If they told you right off the bat, this is how they go, this is how it's going to be, would you put yourself through that? I don't think so. I don't think any of you would. And I know I wouldn't. We get sucked into these things because they make us believe that they're a certain way. They make us think that they're similar to us. But that's only so that they can get supply. And this is everywhere in the world today. Just go on social media, you see on Instagram, there's so many people who are posting things that they don't even care about, that they're not even interested in. I see so many posts showing up on my feed every day. I remember there was one girl who was like climbing up a volcano, and there was all of this ash everywhere. And it looked like she had no experience, she didn't even know what she was doing. And it was all just for supply, it was all just for attention. And that's what a lot of these people are like. You see them going out into the wilderness, in nature, playing with animals, or they're climbing up mountains, whatever they're doing, it's all just for attention. It's all just for the likes. It's not because they're passionate about it. It's not because they're interested in it. And even in day-to-day life, you'll come across all sorts of people who will brag and boast about certain things, certain proposed accomplishments, whatever it may be. They may tell you that they were in the army, and they're lying through their teeth. They're lying about their accomplishments or their experience or their past. And it's all just to get supply from you. It's all just to get attention by you seeing them a certain way. They want you to see them a certain way so that they can get supply from you. They have to affect your perception of them. Because if you're seeing them as they actually are, someone who has no similar passions or interests, someone who has nothing in common with you, you're not going to want anything to do with them. What would be the point? But this is how you end up stuck with them. You end up stuck with someone who's not about anything that you're about, and you just, maybe you're just sitting in a room with them, and you thought you'd be doing all sorts of things together, and they're just sitting there playing on their phone, playing on social media, because they're not really about what they said they're about. They're not really who they presented themselves to be. It's all fake, it's all a lie. If it wasn't, they would just be doing that. They would just be that. You don't have to wait around for someone to be or do that. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to beg them. You don't have to be on your hands and knees. You don't have to be an inch from death until something finally happens. It will just happen anyway, and it won't take a lot of time, if that's naturally who the person is. And this is how many of you should realize that you're dealing with fake people. You're dealing with people who are not what they said they're about. They're not genuine. They're wearing a mask. And you're holding on for something that doesn't even exist. And yet many of you, you may think, maybe I just need to wait a bit longer. I've only waited a few months. I've only waited 1 year, 2 years. Maybe if I wait just a bit more, maybe just another year, then finally they'll give in. Finally they'll see my devotion, my loyalty to them. Finally their behavior is suddenly going to change, and they'll be everything I always wanted them to be. Or you may think, if you just invest a bit more of your money into them, you do something more for them, you take them on a nice trip, you buy them something, then finally they'll be that person you always want them to be. That's all just conditional. It's based on conditions. But you have to do something. You have to put a coin in the machine in order for them to perform. It doesn't work that way if it's real. And actually, it works the opposite way. If someone sees that you're waiting and you're desiring something, and that's really who that person is, that's really what they're about. So they have something to give. They can have empathy for you, that means. If they're whole, they're complete. So they're going to notice you. They're going to see that you're not happy, that you're missing out. And it's not going to take long for them to come to you and to be that person that you want them to be. Because that person is who they are. And you're not going to have to put another coin in the machine. You don't have to invest anything. They'll just naturally be that person for you. Just how you were naturally that person for them, but they were emotionally starving you. And you were still naturally that person for them. Because you are real. You weren't just pretending to be something. That was what you said you were about is what you're about. And that's how they didn't have to wait around for anything from you. They didn't have to invest anything into you. They could just give you lies and future faking and get everything they want from you. Because you're genuine, they're not. And that's why they have to use coupling, paired associations, in order to get what they want from you. Because otherwise, without the coupling, without the paired associations, they can't get what they want. They can't get your emotional energy. They can't get your reactions, your attention, validation, admiration, money, resources, commitment. They can't get any of that unless they play their role, unless they put on an act, unless they act like they're similar to you. So all they're doing is mirroring you. When they are coupling, when they are using paired associations, they are mirroring you. They're reflecting back to you your own qualities, virtues, and ideals. And you are falling in love with a reflection of yourself. You're not seeing anything that's separate in them. You're just seeing a reflection of yourself. That's all that they can do, is mirror back to you. They can't do anything else. If they're not mirroring back to you, if they're not reflecting back to you who you are, then they're showing you who they are. And who they are is someone who is very mean, hateful, spiteful, menacing, jealous, envious. That's who they really are. They're not anything like they portray themselves to be. They just took that from you. They acted very kind, caring, loving, compassionate, charismatic, because they could see that's what you're like. And typically, like attracts like. We like to be around other people who are similar to us, because that's typically how it works, is that if you're giving a certain type of energy out, you're giving your qualities to someone, you're then being deprived, you're being depleted of that, unless they're similar to you and they can reciprocate it back to you. So narcissists are thieves. They rob you. They come in acting like they're similar to you, as though they can reciprocate back, when actually they're nothing like you. So then you get robbed, because you're giving qualities to them that they cannot give back. And that's how you end up feeling depleted, because you're dealing with someone who's wearing a mask and pretending to be something that they're not. That's how you end up being without something. It's because they're wearing a mask. If they were a genuine person, then what you're giving out, you would get back. And again, you wouldn't have to wait for it. You wouldn't be holding on. You wouldn't be begging for it. You wouldn't have to do any of that. It would just come automatically, just as it does from you to them. So you're dealing with someone who has no interest in what you're interested in. That's how you're being robbed. You're dealing with someone who's wearing a mask just for narcissistic supply. And that's all that that is for. It's for attention, validation, admiration, a sense of power and control. It's not for anything else. So get that out of your head. If you're thinking that there's something more to them than what you've already seen, there isn't. There isn't anything. All that there is a fantasy where they put you to sleep. And then you just go into la la lands. You go into the simulation. Just like what you saw at the beginning. This mirage where you thought it was something real. When really you were just watching someone putting on an act. You were watching someone pretending to be like you. You were watching an imposter. Someone who was mimicking you. Almost like one of those Elvis impersonators. They were just mimicking you. And maybe not exactly like you, but sometimes just a reflection of your own virtues, desires, or ideals. They were just putting on an act and mimicking that back to you. And you then fell in love with a reflection of yourself. And yes, that's all that they can do. All they can do is mimic back to you your desires, your virtues, your ideals, which are all things that they are not. And yet at the same time, they're all things that they wish they were. They wish they had those qualities for real. They wish that they could be what they think you are missing. They wish they could be what completes you. Because of course, that's what makes us human. Is that we're meant to bond well together. We're meant to fit together. So they want to be that, but they're not. Because they're broken people. They have no identity, no personality. And so they manipulate you to try and feel normal, like a normal human being who can be something that you want and desire. When really deep down they know that they are undesirable, unlovable, and just all around not needed. They know that deep down. And that's the reason for the manipulation, the gaslighting, the coupling, the paired associations. It's all to help them avoid reflecting on their own feelings of inadequacy as a result of their unfulfilled emotional needs in childhood. So that's the purpose of the coupling or paired associations, to get them supply to distract them from their feelings of inadequacy. So even though they're presenting these things to you initially, they're acting like there's something that could complete you, that could make you happy, that you might desire, that's similar to you. They're only doing that because deep down they know that they're nothing like you. They know that they could never complete you, and in fact all they can do is take away from you, steal from you. And isn't that funny? Because that's exactly what they all do. That's exactly what every last one of them did to all of you. They didn't complete you. They weren't what you needed them to be. They weren't the person that you thought you fell in love with. And yet what they all did was rob you. Because they wanted those qualities from you so that they could use it as a part of their mask to further manipulate and deceive you, and then also to manipulate and deceive the next source of supply. So why don't we fast forward? Let's just skip it and go straight to the part where it's like, when you see someone, you may not know that they're using coupling, but when you see them presenting something to you, they're pretending to be similar to you. When someone seems very similar, they seem just like you. They seem like they're about what you're about. They share the same passions and interests. So you should be thinking ahead of that. Right? That means at some point, you're going to get robbed. They're going to steal your qualities and energy from you. Because honestly, I mean, no person is going to be that similar. No person is going to be that much just like you. And they just pop up out of the blue. It's just not going to happen. There's always going to be disagreements. There's always going to be some sort of problem. There's always going to be barriers, things that you have to work through. But with the narcissist, they want to present to you that they are your ideal companion. It's manipulation. It's only for supply. There's no way that any one person could be that similar to you. So fast forward, think about what's going to happen later. The odds are that you're going to get robbed. There's not going to be an equal exchange. Of course, it's not going to be that way all the time. I mean, sometimes there could be someone who's similar to you. But, you know, just use discernment. And just have that awareness, you know, as the time is going by. Be aware of what you're giving out. Your time, energy, qualities, money. Be aware of what you're giving out and then think, am I getting an equal amount back? Because if you're not getting an equal amount back at the beginning, then gradually with time, you're just going to be depleted more and more. They're going to starve you out. It's going to get worse over time. If already they're indebted to you, it's not going to get better. It's going to get a lot worse as time goes by. And that's why the best thing that you can do, once you start to notice the difference at the beginning, where you're giving out, you're not getting that equal exchange back, the best thing you can do is just to cut it off before it's too late, because they will just drain you out. And they're not going to have any compassion for you. They feel no guilt or remorse. So that's it. That's the darkest psychological manipulation tactic that narcissists use. And it's very sick. It's very disturbing. How someone can torture another human being like that. But then you've got to remember that these are not humans. They're not real people. They're not complete humans. And that's how they couldn't be anything like how you wanted them to be. It's been raining a lot today. I'm just staying here at this resort. Got a few cats here and fish in the pond over there as well. I'm glad I didn't go to the beach today though, because otherwise I would be stuck in this rain. But hopefully I will go to the beach one last time tomorrow, because then the next day I've got my flight. So hopefully I can have one more day just to make the most of the beach. But yeah, I enjoyed it yesterday. It was nice just bathing in the sea and doing a video there as well. But yeah, I hope I brought some awareness to you regarding this psychological manipulation tactic that narcissists use. So now you will be aware of it, and It should help you when you look back and you wonder what happened to this wonderful person that you met, and why are you being depleted now? Why are you feeling starved? It should help you to realize why this is happening. So yeah, I hope that this video helps you. And you can show your support for our community here by giving it a thumbs up. Donations are greatly appreciated. If you would like to donate, just go to my PayPal. It's paypal.me/Narc Survivor. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you're new here, subscribe, click on notifications so that you'll be notified when I go live again. If you would like to book a one-on-one coaching session with me, just go to my website. It's narcsurvivor.co.uk. I provide guidance and support along your healing journey. And I am also available on Instagram. You can follow me. It is Narc Survivor YouTube. Thank you all for joining me on another Narc Survivor live video. And I will talk to you soon.